UFC Noche must kind of coincide with the blue moon, because coming up this weekend we have a Tracy Cortez fight. They never happen. She's going to be taking on Canada's Jasmine Jasudavicius. And if this fight goes anything like the FIBA basketball championships, Matt, maybe Canada will be able to beat the US once more. And when you look at a fight like this, it's got to be a little bit awkward. I mean, for Jasmine Jasudavicius, she gets to walk around backstage, and it's kind of like that Brian Windhorst meme. She gets to see Elise
Does she
Reed.
know what's going on with the Utah Jazz?
No, she gets to see Elise Reed in the backstage. They fought in a title fight over CFFC, and it was Jasudavicius losing, I'd say now, a controversial split decision against Reed in that matchup. But Jasudavicius is able to carry it forward, also make it to the UFC, beat Kay Hansen in a debut, lose a fight to Natalia Silva, and since then, Jasudavicius has definitely taken a level up with her striking in her last two matchups. Against Gabriela Fernandez, who was a turtle off her back in the takedowns, Jasudavicius was able to kind of carry through with her natural martial art, which is the wrestling. Former Canadian silver medalist champ in the freestyle discipline. But when you look at it for Jasudavicius, her last time out in Vancouver against Miranda Maverick, I and most people had her pegged to get the loss. And she was kind of having some trouble in the first round against Maverick. But by goodness, she was able to rally back round 2, round 3, and work in her striking and look very, very good. So she's looking to carry forward that momentum with Niagara Top Team into this fight against Fight Ready's own Tracy Cortez. And for Cortez, she was due a fight back last December against Amanda Hebos, and that fight was out due to some medical issues. So for Cortez, this is the first action since she was able to beat Melissa Gatto by decision. That was quite a while ago, exactly back in May of last year. I mean, even before that, a win over Justine Kish by split decision where Cortez missed weight by half a pound. She got dropped in the third round of that one really quickly. But Cortez has had some really close fights. She was known as a finisher outside of the UFC. She had that Invicta split decision win over Erin Blanchfield. I rewatched that fight today. I still think Blanchfield won the first round and the third round. Cortez gets a win over Maria Agapova on Contender Series, and then she's been off to the races. But we've primarily seen Cortez's wrestling in the UFC, whether it's been at 135 pounds or at 125. You think of the fight against Stephanie Edgar, where she's able to dominate in that discipline against somebody who's pretty darn accredited on the ground. But again, for Cortez, we almost want to see a finish. We almost expect a finish. And this is a battle between number 14 and Cortez, number 15 and Jasudavicius, and a bit of a Shark Tank all of a sudden in the flyweight division. So I'm eager to get your take on this fight, because both of these women, their styles kind of complement each other. And it could either be an awesome fight or kind of a stale fight. I don't know.
And that's exactly how I was going to start. Stylistically, these two mirror each other in a lot of different areas, and that's why I think it will result in a pretty fun fight. The thing about Tracy Cortez is, it does feel like you kind of know what the result of her fights are going to be after the first 2 or 3 minutes of the first round, right? Like, if she's able to secure the takedown, if she's not getting stuck in too many compromising positions on the mat, well, she's probably going to rinse and repeat for the second round. And if she does have anything left in the tank, she'll probably do the same in the third round. And that's the thing about Cortez. I think her cardio comes down to more her pacing and her ability to go out there and get the takedown, more than her having poor cardio by any means. I just think she spends a lot of energy trying to get those takedowns. And if you do a good job defensively, you can burn her out quite a bit and make her just a diminished version in that third round. And that's where this fight does get interesting, because I was really impressed by the pace that Jasmine was able to put on in her last performance. And not just the pace, just the consistency was nice to see out of her, because we had really only seen a lot of the grappling out of her before the last couple of matchups and before her last loss. So it has been nice to see her continually add new things into her game, even at 34 years old, because that's not often an age at flyweight that you see fighters make these wholesale adjustments to their MMA skill sets. But Jasmine has been able to incorporate a lot more of the striking into her game.
You got to talk about that gym a little bit too when you mention that with Niagara Top Team, because you see Matt DiMarcantonio in the corner, former fighter. He main evented a St. John, New Brunswick fight card years ago. But also Anthony Romero. You've seen Mike Malott in the gym as well, and you've seen some other Ontario-based fighters kind of mix it up there. So credit where it's due with Niagara Top Team.
I just have a really hard time with this point in this fight. I think Jasmine probably has the more well-rounded game, I'd say, at this stage of her career. Tracy, like you had said, does go for a lot more of the wrestling, and it really does seem like, hey, if she's going to win a fight, it's going to be a lot with her wrestling and her top pressure, and if she's going to lose a fight, well, she's not going to be able to acquire any of those things. But I will never get this out of my head after we saw Carla Esparza fight Tatiana Suarez. Cortez. You have two fighters who are both really good wrestlers, right? Both much better than their contemporaries are with the wrestling. Suarez might have been like only 5% better with her wrestling, and that fight didn't look close at all. So I do worry about this matchup being, hey, if Jasmine or Cortez even has that 5 or 10% advantage with their own wrestling, will that be enough to just use that one tool of their game and get the win using that?
So Cortez struggled in some of the submissions against Melissa Gatto.
Which is
she was able to win the first and the third round in that matchup, gets the win against Justine Kish. Judges scored 30-27 Cortez. The next judge, 29-28, rounds 1 and rounds 3, Cortez. The other judge, round 2, round 3, Kish. I think it was kind of crazy that judges weren't unanimous in giving Kish the third round because she was able to, off the body kick, land a right hand that drops Tracy Cortez. And again, I didn't think that she won that fight against Blanchfield. However, when I look at Jasudavicius in this matchup, historically, how have I picked Jasudavicius fights? Good question, listener and watcher. I picked Kay Hansen to win. I picked Jasmine to win her second fight out. I picked Gabi Fernandez to win. I picked Miranda Maverick to win. I'm 0-4 in picking Jasudavicius fights in the UFC. She's got 78% takedown defense so far in that small sample size. So we'll see how this one goes because I think activity on the feet, Cortez continuing to train at Fight Ready, you're only going to get better in that discipline with Santino DeFranco and Eddie Cha there as well. But when you look at a fight like this, Matt, odds, they're pretty darn close. Tracy Cortez, a slight favorite, roughly a minus 130 in this one. We have a look at the topology votes, Matt. Surprise us there to you. I think the lion's share are going to be with Tracy Cortez. I'm going to say over under 82.5% Cortez.
I think it'll be under 82.5, but she'll be the favorite.
It is under 831 total votes, 71% Cortez, 89% by decision. So you're going with Tracy Cortez in this one, I feel.
No, I am as split down the middle as you possibly can be. The reason I bring up that wrestling point is, though, if Cortez can just be heavy enough in the top position, I think she can win rounds that way. And again, I don't think it's going to be the most aesthetically pleasing way to go out there and win a round, but top pressure, guess what? That does a lot better than the person being on bottom defending against said top pressure. So I do think I am going to slightly side with Tracy Cortez, but it's a difficult fight because if she's not able to secure those takedowns, she hasn't shown us enough improvements in the other parts of her game, at least at this point, for me to really be convinced that, hey, she can win a 15-minute fight just using the clinch or a 15-minute fight just using her boxing. I think those things are starting to come along, but not enough yet, and that's why I have a hard time with this fight.
And for Cortez, it'll be interesting to see, I mean, with a brother that's a fighter, with all the story, you know, her story kind of coming into the UFC, a lot to digest, and I'm sure we'll hear quite a bit about that at UFC Noche. For me, give me Jasmine Jasudavicius. Maybe we'll go 0 for 5
yes!
picking her fight so far. We'll see how that one goes. I'm going with Canada's Jasudavicius. And I think, again, activity on the feet. We saw that against Maverick. We saw a good gas tank there as well.
Sure.
And we saw the takedowns play a bit of a factor. The only time we've really seen Jasudavicius struggle is round the outside killer Natalia Silva.
Silva was able to get her down a couple times.
And though. She was. Silva was able to get 2 takedowns in that matchup as well. Go 2 for 3 in the fight. But for me, I'm going Jasudavicius. We're split on the pick in this one. Let us know in the comments who you have. Let us know who you have in all of these fights because, Matt, the next one, it's going to be Edgar Chairez taking on Daniel Lacerda. You're not going to want to miss it. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say.
Let's get into it.